This podcast may contain adult themes.
This podcast is for entertainment purposes only.
The views and opinions in this podcast are expressly our own.
When I get to the workplace, I like to fuck shit up.
Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
Hey, are you tired of toxic workplaces and the negativity that comes with them?
We hear you, and we're here to shake things up. Welcome to Let's Break Up Toxic Workplace Stories, the podcast that's all about breaking up with workplace toxicity.
I'm Nicola, and I'm here with my co-host Gina. Together, we're going to explore real-life experiences of workplace toxicity and offer a sense of encouragement and unity.
That's right. We're tackling the tough topic of negativity in the workplace.
So join us each week as we explore the various forms of toxicity in the workplace. We'll be interviewing guests to share their experiences and offer practical solutions for dealing with workplace toxicity.
Let's Break Up is quickly becoming the go-to source for anyone looking to share and then ditch the drama and help you break up with those toxic workplaces. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell all your friends.
In this week's episode, welcome to part 2 of our 2-part series around a member of the community asking us some questions about the first couple of episodes that we released. So it is a follow-up episode and we're going to get straight back into it. We will rewind just a little bit so that you know what's coming up and kind of go straight into it from there.
We're not crickets?
We're not shipping specialists. We're not shipping crickets.
No, but I think that is a great indication of what the unrealistic expectations and demands were of this company.
Excuse me, can we circle back to unrealistic expectations? Can we please fucking circle back to unrealistic expectations?
I just want to reiterate, like 200 SKUs. 200.
No, I'm going to reiterate that. I'm going to take that and I'm going to say, let me tell you about unrealistic expectations. There was a particular product that we were going to create specifically for our staff. Okay. We had planned, because each team in the organization was a particular color. So you got assigned a color. Okay. It just made it easier to see really on the strategy, and then was just adopted, and that's kind of how it happened. Anyway, so each team had a color. And we thought, as a nice way to bring mental health home to the staff, is we would make these bundles specifically for your color. Part of that was we want to promote the product to our staff so that they're using the product. And we would specifically make the kind of, let's say, core product in the team colors. There are 4 colors. We were supposed to, because there's only tops 20 employees, we were only supposed to order 50 of each color. Someone fucked up and ordered 5,000.
I know exactly who did that.
I know who did that too.
Fired.
I had 4 days to work out how to sell those.
And this person who made that huge mistake didn't lose their job?
No.
Oh, I think that's a fireable
That was
offense.
also not the last mistake. That was not the first, nor was it the last.
No,
really,
and I
would like to say that the product plan that I delivered within 4 days, I think tops, I ended up pushing it out another couple of days. So let's call it a week. Let's call it a week tops. But within a week, I had a sales plan. I had a way to kind of offload all of the product. And I coupled it with a particular online service as well to make it extra impactful in 1 week.
I think that's impressive.
And I think our mysterious guest knows exactly which products we're talking about. It was like a big, because the CEO had panicked about the fact that we had now all of the stock that we needed to sell, and literally gave me a week. So I worked probably 20 hours a day.
So you know the best way to fix that kind of thing when somebody makes a huge issue? Like somebody, here's the thing though, this person would order it, but the CEO would have to pay it. So between those two fucking idiots, neither of them noticed that they were 5,000 instead of 50. So everyone has part to play in that from the product side. How does that happen? How does that fucking happen? I don't understand.
I don't know. I think I did. I think given I feel like mysterious guest knows that because they know the product. I feel like, considering now that I only had a week to deliver that entire that entire suite of things, I feel like I did pretty okay.
Honestly, it was flawless. It seemed very intentional in that it was planned. So
yeah, thanks, babe. That's why I'm good at my job. And that was not like me strumming my fucking little violin.
Yes. But so the best way to fix that kind of major fuck up is to let go of the person who made the major fuck up. But here's my theory on that. If the CEO had to pay out on it and she missed the fuck up, she can't let go of someone because she has a responsibility in that fuck up too. So if she lets go the product person who was ordering that, then that would be hypocritical. That's probably what happened.
It seems like there's a lack of responsibility. I mean, it's definitely from the top down, because they are constantly, blaming things on, oh, we're a small business and we're a small team and we're still learning how to do this. And, there's no accountability taken. They don't come back and say like, hey, we did mess up and we're going to try and fix this. There's just, they cover all, bad press, or if anyone tries to criticize or make suggestions on how to change things, they just delete or censor it and move on.
I raised a lot of times that we needed a PR plan if something goes bad. And that was because I said that's a huge strategic or organizational risk that really concerns me. It's the one thing that keeps me up at night, is if something goes wrong, what do we do? And there was no business continuity planning. There was no, what do we do in an emergency, specifically around PR. So it was just, for me, that was like a huge contention point is.
But also everything was a problem. Like everything was a fire. So it was like a continual. So I kind of liken it like, we know we have to do something, but we can't get to that point because we're so busy with everything else that we have to fucking get through. I mean, that's exactly what it was.
Instead of focusing on how they could improve, they're too busy spying on a private.
Can we
Facebook
talk about
page.
that?
Oh my God, can we please talk about that? Okay, that was me spying.
Well, not this most recent.
Oh, no. We'll come back to that. But so something that was really important to me was the negative feedback. And I felt that we can't make improvements or change the way that we deliver things if we don't have the full picture. And we can't make things better for people, again, if we don't have the full picture. So absolutely did we spy on that group, because the best information was coming out of that group. And the best way to deal with, to get ahead of shipping issues, or to get ahead of manufacturing faults, or all of these things, to get ahead of it, it would be better for us to know the full picture. However, that then got taken to a whole nother level, where the entire of Gina's team tried to seed themselves into that for alternate purposes, more so to feedback issues, or and not use it for the greater good, but use it to kind of feed this feed this kind of gossipy culture, right? And we were like, no, we can summarize, our job, we can summarize this information and the feedback from our customers and give you the summarized version. You don't need all the details. We love the details, but we will give you the summarized version. Now, what was really interesting is if there was something really big coming through, I would go to the CEO and say, hey, something big's coming up. Be aware, strap yourself in. What I found out after maybe the first 3 times of doing that was that she would instantaneously knee-jerk reaction, something that would go totally off. So just one person needed to say something super negative, and then I would have to change an entire marketing plan to suit that one person who's commented something negative. And I'm like, no, that's not the point. No, you have to change it because obviously people are unhappy. I'm like, one person's unhappy and they're just noisy. It's all good. We
Right.
can
It's like
deal
you
with it.
can't please all the people all the time.
No. And then we'd have to change, like we've been working, weeks on something, and then we'd have to change it within hours.
You would do the same thing with product too. And I'm like, the shit's already in the warehouse. What do you
It's
expect us
growing,
to
like
do?
we can't do anything about it at this point. We should have checked it. There should have been quality control first.
Can I take a little side note on quality control?
Please.
The timing from when the request would come from the CEO or COO to the time they expected it to be in a United States warehouse gave us absolutely zero time to do quality control. And that's not how I roll. So my whole thing was I wanted to start scheduling out 6 months in advance, which at best they were doing 2 months, which is in
tops.
production, it's always going to be super fucking tight. So I was getting us to that point, but then I resigned.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I resigned, then got
you're
fired.
fine. Anyway, so coming back to the seeded information. So Gina's team then started seeding their own thing that they were doing in that group. By that point, I'd left. So don't know what unfolded from that point onwards.
What happened most recently was someone who followed you on your, own social platform, caught wind of the podcast and just put it in this group that was not specifically associated with your former workplace, but was basically this whole.
No, well, it was a location, because I know the group. I know which group we're talking about. It was essentially a Facebook group where people could openly converse about not just one brand, but many brand issues.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened there?
Yeah,
Because I think I didn't understand it. Like I was getting it secondhand from Nicola, and I was like so confused.
I kind of understood what happened, but I kind of also didn't understand, because Gina and I said it was like the USSR. It's like we'd gone back to the Cold War. It was weird.
So this one person caught wind of your podcast, said, this is really eye-opening. I think I'm personally going to take a step back from this company. If anybody else wants to give it a listen, go ahead. I'm not going to get into specifics. I think we can all pretty come to the conclusion about what company they're referring to. But I'm just going to leave this here for anyone who wants to listen. So a bunch of people listened and were like, oh my gosh, that's I had no idea. This is really eye-opening. And this makes sense as to why we're seeing the things we're seeing on the consumer side. Well, whoever was seated in that group to spy on everyone took it back to headquarters, and they sent a personal email. I think it was directly from one of the top members, either the CEO or the CAO, and basically said that, you guys are disgruntled employees and to pay no mind. And they said it in a way that was threatening, but they didn't threaten anything. It was almost like they were threatening to blacklist them, but they
blacklist the customer.
Yeah. So it was very strange.
For sharing our information.
Yeah, but
which doesn't name them. Which
yes.
So here's I call that a tell. They're scared.
Yes.
Because we're actually speaking the truth, and people can now connect the dots and be like, that's why this is so fucked up. But they don't take accountability for anything. They don't say, wait, let me stop for a second. Have we really created a toxic workplace? Can we make it better for our employees? Because their idea is fantastic, right? On paper, it's fantastic. They should be killing the game, but they're not, because they can't get out of their own way.
Yes. And it's now the toxicity is trickled into
but that letter, whatever email they sent, shows their fucking toxicity.
That's their true colors, right?
Yes.
There.
And how fucked up is it to admit you have a spy in this private Facebook group, and then to single out this one person and reach out to them instead of, I don't know, saying something to your whole customer base, hey, this is what's being said and this is how we're going to improve it. It's
because we're speaking the truth, mystery guest, so they can't dispute it. So what they have to do is point the finger at us that we're disgruntled. Let me tell you, My
Oh, I'm
decision to
disgruntled.
resign was the best thing I could have ever done. And their stupidity in business by then firing me and then giving me severance, which I was never entitled to. I wasn't even there long enough. That just goes to show you how stupid they really are when it comes to true business acumen. I've never felt better. It was like a weight off. Like, yes, I was like reeling from it because I was like starting to get down the rabbit hole. 2 days later, I was fucking killing it doing something else. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I am not disgruntled. I am relieved.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
I'm disgruntled. I would say that I was horribly depressed, because we were talking about this earlier, where I strongly believed that these people were my friends. I believed that.
That's your first mistake.
You're right. I know that that was my first mistake, but I believed that these people were my friends. I believed that there was some modicum of decency, which I was blindsided by because I didn't get that.
Well, that kind of feeds into the frustration, like, you know, they're so big on mental health, which is laughable in itself.
No, they're not.
Absolutely, they're not.
Yeah, they're selling luxury goods to a, you know, a struggling like
Community.
demographic. Yeah, community who most are probably in some sort of like financial peril. And then they're just like, they continue to like target them and exploit them, you know, for.
And I think that was my biggest regret, that because like the narrative the COO spins is compelling, right? Like this whole idea started because it helped her.
Yeah.
And she has some issues that it helped her work through. Fine. The narrative is super compelling and it got me. But one of my first realizations was the fact that at one of the main meetings with all the department heads, one of the C-suite people, can't remember if it was the COO or CEO, said, I don't think we should ask about mental health to our like direct reports. Like it takes too much time or something to that effect.
You know where that's okay. So we had metrics that we had to report on weekly. And I said, when we were creating the metrics, I said, if we're going to preach that we are a mental health focused organization, then we need a metric that measures how we discuss mental health with our staff. Because we need to walk the talk, right? We need to show that we are delivering what we believe in.
Right.
And
so
it
what
became
ended up
such a tick box exercise where it's like, how's your mental health this week? It's like, I'm not going to tell you how my mental health is this week because I'm expecting the message. So, and if I tell you something negative, it's going to be completely dismissed anyway, because the level of toxic positivity within the organization means that you cannot be negative. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me tell you that I've been working 20 hours a day for the last 7 days because you don't give me any opportunity to take time off. And when I do take time off, you're literally messaging me from morning to night. Like, tell me.
And also, like, even if you would say something like to like say, you know, I'm really not happy with how XYZ was handled, they would just be like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Like, there wouldn't actually be resources given. There wouldn't be camaraderie. Like, it was just very like a tick off, like Nicola said. And the fact that they, you know, that was one of the probably last things I was there for. The fact that they were like, let's do away with it. I think it speaks volumes. I mean, on one hand, it was probably a good idea to do away with it because nobody ever really spoke about it in real life. Like,
but it's a tell that you're not speaking about it in a business.
It was like we were forced to always say, "Oh no, everything's great,
fine."
But I mean, that's how they pretty much handled everything. That's everything in their like IG or any socials. Like everything's great, everything's fine, and then I don't know. The whole company is exhausting. I feel like I could go off on a tangent, but
it is exhausting. Can you imagine actually working there every day?
No, I can't.
You, as a consumer, is exhausted.
Yeah, between like the release, you know, they say that they had come out like a while back and said, we have 4 releases for transparency and for like everyone's like anxiety and mental health, whatever. We do, you know, 4 quarterly releases essentially with the main products. And now they release something like every other week. And
Revenue.
Yeah. And I'm like, how is this effective or productive to release this one product like this week and then a whole like line of things the next week?
But
And nothing is
you're right though,
cohesive.
right? Like you mentioned earlier, mystery guest, you mentioned earlier where you said, you know, a lot of these people are not financially in a place where they can buy these luxury products. And now they're so into the Kool-Aid and they're so drinking the Kool-Aid that they're spending money that they don't have, which was a big contention for me as well, is they're spending this money that they don't have to be part of that community.
Yes, and like the limited edition products, and they create like this panic buying, and then they're not transparent with, you know, pricing ahead of time, and they give you like a day notice that they're launching like these big things, and there's just a lot of issues.
I think there's an argument to be had saying that their selling tactics are detrimental to the community that they say they're representing and trying to help. I think there's a big argument there. In their defense, though, I think, again, they lack the maturity and understanding of just to understand, like, market research might be helpful, getting people who have an actual wholesale background in selling, like getting the right people in the right places. That's one of the things that they're attempting to do. But then when they have the right person in the right place, they don't really want it. So how can that be a non-toxic workplace? I don't understand. Like, listen, they do their own thing. I'm entitled to my opinions. They're entitled to call me a disgruntled employee. It's fine. It was not a fit on both ends, 100%. They need to do a little self-reflection, because that was my biggest thing. Like, when I finally like stopped working there 9 to 5, or really it was like 8 to 11 every day. Yeah, I realized how exploitative they were being of this community, and I was disgusted.
You were 8 to 11. I was 3 a.m. to like 11 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, I could have been the same, but I just had some form of boundaries.
Yeah, but if I didn't, then it was consistent. Like, it was literally like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, Slack is still like, I still hear it and I'm like,
I know. I literally, you and I use Slack and I'm like, I barely go on it because it actually
I barely go on it
now, where I see it and I'm like, oh
no, that's my biggest gripe with the company is like, just say you're here to sell, you know, stationary products. Like, don't say that you're a mental health company, because you don't treat your customers or your employees like they have any sort of like value when it comes to that.
They don't. And one of their core values was the company before yourself. But if the company is mismanaging, bleeding money, what kind of company?
Threatening employees, that if you're bleeding money, instead of looking into why we're bleeding money, we're threatening employees' mental health and stability by saying we've got to let people go
because we hired someone who's
too expensive,
which was me. And I even took a cut. I don't know. I don't know. Where does a company like that go? I think that they started the company with a noble idea, but then it got perverted.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what other questions you have, mystery guest of mysteryness.
Yeah, so I think you covered the stealing. I haven't heard it, but you pre-recorded it.
We did. So we can cover some of that now.
Well, it was, how did it happen twice? And why was the CEO on Instagram bawling, begging for her money back when it seems like she could have just not fulfilled the order?
There's so much to unpack here. I remember the day that this happened so clearly, because it was just one of those big moments where every time one of these big things happened, there would be something going on in my personal life. So I had taken the day off and I was driving through the beautiful New Zealand environ, and I was driving to a city like 3 hours away, and I got a panicked telephone call from the CEO saying, oh my God, you're not going to believe what's happened, yada, yada, yada. And I had to pull over and have a look at what she was sending me. So I pulled over. I had a look. What had happened was absolutely there was an issue around the code that was used, and this person was able to order. And what's really crazy is I still have the screenshot of it, and it was close on $40,000 worth of product for maybe like $8 shipping. And it was absolutely a flaw in the system. And because at that point I wasn't responsible, I don't think I was responsible for the codes at that point, but I think it was that day where I said, look, I'll be responsible for the codes, hand them over, we're not letting that happen again. It was 2 shipment orders. And I know I asked Gina about this. I'm like, talk to me about what $40,000 worth of product would look like showing up at your house.
It's like 3 full pallets, and people don't understand how big pallets are. It's like they're big.
That would take up like your whole garage if you have a garage.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this person bought this, and we were able to shop. So it was 2 shipments that we were able to stop the 2 shipments. Now we contacted the person. They were a person that provided their own code for monetary gain. And we shut that down, quick, smart. I've seen them in a couple of the groups still kind of touting the products that they have purchased in the past, but we essentially blacklisted that person because that's not cool, right?
I mean, and that's the only time someone should be blacklisted, when they're doing funky shit like that.
Not because you're sharing a link for disgruntled employees. So when I kind of deep dived a little bit deeper into it, we had stopped the shipment. So the shipment was replaced. I think we'd lost maybe $3,000 on recouping costs, like just recouping and making sure that the products weren't delivered. So not a huge loss, but still a bit of a loss. And that person, we reached out to them and said, hey, not cool, mate, with, hey, heart, not cool, because we don't like conflict. And they actually responded in a really shitty way. To be honest, like I will take that one. That one was really shitty. They responded.
Who responded shitty?
The person that tried to steal the products. They got the code.
Wait, what did they say? I need to know. I wasn't here for any of this. So
they responded back with essentially, well, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots for not sorting out that code. Which is true.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He or she are not wrong. And
but
it's just really
as a good human being, if they saw that, they should have brought it to the company's attention.
Oh, for sure.
Like you shouldn't have exploited it.
Don't exploit it. And luckily we caught it. But the response was really shitty. Like the response was rough. Like it was like, oh, someone get the aloe vera cream. Oh, no.
Stupid.
It's so bad. But it was very much around, well, tough luck for you idiots. I'll just wait for my order. Thank you. Why are you canceling us?
So why is the CEO going on Instagram though, like crying to
knee-jerk reaction?
Also emotional manipulation of her consumer base. No, do you know how many times that she's like,
I actually made a really funny marketing campaign for that situation. It was hilarious. Like I had this whole thing where we just like played into it, and we had like we had a cat burglar.
Okay,
we're gonna restock that particular product, but it was like a cat burglar, like hoarding all its stuff. It was I thought it was hilarious and very funny, and everybody I floated it with was like, oh my god, that's hilarious, like play into it. Oh no, we went with victim.
Like I think that would have been well received, but it was just so bizarre to see, the CEO crying over this on Instagram. It was just, beyond bizarre. And she basically got everyone to bully this person, this, unnamed person, into canceling the order or like doing the right thing and returning the product, is what she made it sound like.
So
Yeah, pretty much.
they spin their own narrative, and maybe you disagree with me, Nicola, but I think that the CEO's tactics are, while they often are knee jerk, I think she is an emotionally manipulative person just in any situation. So of course that's going to come out in in her work. You don't leave yourself behind, when you come to work, there you are. So I also think she's very used to playing the victim for monetary gain.
Agreed.
Because her whole like soapbox is these products helped her.
Yeah.
When she was going through her own struggles, which
Yeah.
they very well might have. I'm not here to say they have or they haven't. I'm just saying, at what point does that become capitalistic? And especially for the fact that I don't believe they gave back much to the community, if anything. Like they would donate.
I can talk about how much goes back to the community.
None. Small amount.
Some I will say a number goes back to the community, but it's not the number that is touted. And I can tell you that
I had access to their QuickBooks for purchase orders, and I never saw anything while I was there going out. They did donate excess inventory to like some homeless shelter, but what homeless shelter needs these types of stationary items to get forward in life? Or it was like a woman's shelter? It's like,
it was a woman's shelter, and it was around I think it was around abuse. So I can see that.
Can we just pause here for a second and remind people that if this podcast is something you enjoy, we would love to hear from you.
You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube at Let's Break Up Toxic Workplace Stories.
Sharing and subscribing really helps us feel validated.
Okay, what's the next question? Mystery guest.
Oh, the other stealing thing. Because there were two.
Oh,
the person who didn't
okay.
get fired, who's actually an employee.
Oh my God, I can't. Okay, that was literally the bane of my fucking existence.
Oh my God, you couldn't let that one go.
Oh, okay, it makes me so angry. The stealing in that particular instance was an employee who had a code or like a link that they could use for monetary gain. They had, at the time, they had access to the Instagram page, and was every time we created content or whatever, use their link on the main Instagram page.
So how much money do you think they got by doing that? Mystery guest, what do you think the consensus is in general about this company, with or without us saying anything on the podcast? Because, whatever,
I see and maybe it's just because I have chosen to like kind of jump ship. I see a lot of people jumping ship, and they're I've seen people offload like their entire collection because they're like, fuck this shit, like this is not okay, I'm not gonna like continue to support a company like this. A lot of people are really unhappy with the subscription, and they're like,
well, that last one was straight up fucking garbage.
Oh my God, I sent Gina a PowerPoint presentation where I'd taken everything off Amazon that was identical, and it came to like $109.
Yeah, well, I saw so I really liked I liked the scissors, and that was it. So I obviously did not get the box, but I found the scissors on Amazon and posted it to the wrong page, and it had immediately gotten taken down. It was the community page and not the buy sell trade page, and they're like, how dare yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this last one though that went out in March, I don't know if you've seen it. Or
we saw it.
It wasn't even in the box. It was like an afterthought. Like they forgot about the whole damn thing. It was.
I've got my staff, my staff members' details up. Okay. We went from earning $100 a month to $500 a month to $1,000 a month.
So it increasingly got more.
The more we used the code in the public space. On the actual.
So how much do you think was taken in total?
I don't know in total, but we caught it pretty. I feel like we caught it quick. It took us 3 months, sure, but
they didn't fire that person.
No, I requested that we did. And I said, I'm sorry, but for me, that's hugely inappropriate. You can't use the social media for financial gain. Hugely inappropriate.
So did they fire that individual?
We don't fire people except for Gina and I. We don't fire people because we don't like conflict.
Right.
Honestly, I don't have you tried to pursue wrongful termination, because in a lot of places, I don't know how it is in like New Zealand, but if you don't have to tell someone that you're recording, then it doesn't matter what state.
But also we discovered that because it's on Zoom, it notifies you.
So here's the thing. So like in Florida, which is where the conversation was based from the US side, you do have to let the other party know, right? So because each state is different. Like in New York,
but if it's
one
on
party
Zoom,
needs to know, right?
Yeah. Right.
And that party can be the person recording it.
Yeah.
So you don't technically need to let the other person you're recording know, and it's completely legal. Whereas in Florida, both sides need to know. Okay. Using that logic, then yes, Nicola should have been fired, right?
Right.
However, there's two things that we learned just by talking to people. One, if it was done on Zoom, it does give you a notification, like you have to say got it if it says we're recording this, number one. Number two, because Nicola is a New Zealand citizen, she's governed by the rules of New Zealand, not by the United States. So technically she didn't do anything wrong, because in New Zealand, it's the same as like New York. Like you don't need to tell anyone that you're recording them.
Yeah.
So we actually have a episode coming up in the future where we have an employment lawyer kind of going to give us
kind of listen to the podcasts, and she's
Yeah.
ask us some questions. So we're
If
going to
either of us, I mean, I don't think either of us would pursue wrongful termination, because I think the reason I was terminated was very flimsy. Like, oh, you go against our core values. Well, how can I go against core values that don't make any sense and contradict one another?
No, seems like you have a definite like strong case for wrongful termination.
Well, I think Nicola has a much stronger case than I do, because technically I was an at-will employee. Yeah. But so we're going to have the lawyer come on and kind of tell us her take on it. I don't think either of us will pursue anything. Like
there's no real reason to, like.
No, but we are very disgruntled employees.
Oh, so disgruntled. But we were talking about it earlier, and okay, look, I'm not going to exaggerate the situation here. I spent months depressed, because as I've said before, my entire identity was tied up in this organization. My online persona, my personal business, my everything was tied up in this identity. So to have lost my identity literally overnight without any opportunity to kind of get a handle on it and then work out what I was doing next, where it was just like dead to us overnight, was huge. And the trauma from that took months. Like, honestly, I didn't post online for months. I spent most of my time essentially with my therapist, just crying into my pillow. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible, because I lost trust in my ability. I lost trust in pretty much anything, because, you got to keep in mind that this had been going on for so long. And I was getting up at like 3 a.m. every morning. So now not only that, but my sleep routine is fucked. And now I'm waking up at 3 a.m. in like a flat panic, knowing that I've got nothing to do. Like there's nothing, I have no purpose, like no purpose.
Whereas and that was for like 48 hours straight and was so happy about it.
Whereas I was the total opposite, right? Because these were my friends. These were people that I trusted. These were people that I spent hours a day with. And then all of a sudden, I'm nobody. I'm literally nothing to anyone. No one reached out.
Everyone was pretty confused, because it's someone who follows like all the affiliates more closely than I do, pointed out, they're like, it seems like, Nicola kind of fell off the face of the earth. And I thought like she was like best friends with because they posted all the time, and then like she just dropped off the face of the planet.
You know who's best friends with that woman? Herself. Nobody loves her more than herself. That's her true best friend. I mean, That's great. You should absolutely love yourself, but not at the detriment to other people who are helping you build your business. So
I not, and again, I'm not here to fucking strum my fucking little violin, but I'm sorry, I deserved more respect than that. I was the person that got you your first $1 million month.
Yeah.
they don't care,
What?
Nicola. That's the bottom line. They don't care
They
about
don't
us
give
as
two fucks.
individuals.
It's like I
They
did
don't care.
so much hard work to get you over those lines and to get that kind of stuff back into
They don't
shape.
care
How do I mean nothing? Like,
because they're
you
entitled.
see,
They
like,
are
this is not
entitled
disgruntled.
individuals.
This is just hurt, I think, at this
Yeah.
point. It's like, how could you do that to someone?
They're entitled individuals because they're all Christians and, victims of whatever they're victims of. So
Victims of us.
I don't know.
We were the bullies, Gina, please. They're victims of us.
Oh, yes. I was told that I made people feel stupid. I'm like, well, if you ask me 16 times what DDP means, and I've already explained it 16 times, I'm probably going to be a little irritated. Like, listen when I say it the first 16 times.
Okay, so the other thing that was like presented in the group, and I don't know much about it, but it was the affiliate. I don't know if you remember talking about this a little bit on Insta, Nicola, the affiliate program where they said it as ever since the sale where the company cut the own affiliates at the knees by offering a discount worth the same amount as the affiliate codes.
I know exactly. And
That was before my time, right?
yeah, that was before your time.
Right.
And that was this, so the CEO knew that we were bleeding money. And instead of, again, looking at to where I had highlighted where we were bleeding money, which was specifically shipping, specifically. And I just also want to make it very clear that there was no issues shipping internationally. We just had to better work how we did it, and we could ship anywhere at a reasonable cost, like everybody else.
Nobody took my suggestions there.
And they didn't take mine either. So shipping was our big issue, right? The shipping bled costs. That was to recoup the costs of the shipping because the CEO didn't want to bleed any more money.
Instead of understanding that there's a retail calendar and a marketing calendar and they need to line up, but planning in advance is going to help.
It was really hard to instigate that because I remember, because I was an affiliate.
So can you explain a little bit more about like what exactly happened? Because I'm still kind of confused. I did not understand that situation.
So essentially, when you give an affiliate a code, you give them like a 10% code or whatever code that they can then use with their customers. To save on us having to pay the 10% in commission to the affiliates and the 10% to the discounted 10% on top of that, so essentially 20%, right? Why not just provide the 20% code and cut the loss ourselves than having to pay someone out?
Well, it makes sense. I get what you're saying. Not that it makes sense like morally or from a business standpoint.
We've spoken about it before, but a lot of it was knee-jerk reaction. So CEO didn't like something, I had to hop to and make it happen. And I always did make it happen. There was never a time ever, I don't think, that I didn't make something happen. But it started getting really tedious and really challenging, like closer to the end, because it was just constantly, I was begging for warning, like, can we please plan things out like months in advance, because I can't keep being in this washing machine of 3 a.m. to 11 p.m. working, literally no social life because I'm on 24/7.
I mean, I was just over it. I was just over being treated like shit. That was really what it was. And not once did anyone that I worked with ever say thank you to me. And I know that sounds like petty, but I walked into a fucking drowning ship and I was trying to, like a sinking ship, and I was trying to bail everybody out. And I was working really hard and I was trying to make our products better in multiple different ways, quality, technique, save money, whatever, plan out further. And not once did anyone say, you did a good job. And I made sure to tell my team that they did a good job. And I don't know why. It's just that really disgusts me. Like if someone's working really hard and you can see that they're working really hard, just say, hey, I see that you're working hard. Just acknowledge it. It doesn't even have to be kudos. Like just acknowledge it. Like that's what a normal human being with compassion would do instead of being asked, can you handle it? Right?
Well, it's not only that, but you like put the company in a better position and no one was like grateful for that.
Nobody. And I was trying to move them into the correct like planning phase, giving them like information that they didn't know. And one of the first things the COO said to me when I knew I was getting fired was, I learned so much from you. Yeah, bitch, I know you did. Because you know 0.00 about this industry, any CPG industry. You don't know anything because you lack experience. And that's okay. But don't be a fucking COO.
All right. What else have you got now that we've
Okay,
taken like a pressing place?
I've got two more questions, and one's more out of like personal curiosity, and it doesn't really have to do with anything. But
Ooh, I'm already.
I'm here for it. Yeah. If anyone wants to make their own exact,
Please come and talk to us.
come and talk to me. I can get
And
you
also,
that.
okay, wait, rephrase that. If anyone would like to create the same product,
Yes,
come and
I
talk to
can get you that same product. All of the material is readily available on the market. There is nothing special about the items
Yeah.
that they sell.
no, and they act like they've reinvented the wheel here.
Because they
And-
truly believe that they did. If
wait,
we think back to the
Gina has
first
some
couple.
gossip. Gina has some
What?
gossip.
I do?
You do. And I am going to couch the gossip and then you can follow up with it. Okay.
Okay.
Some of the products are
Oh, I know what you're saying.
some of the
Okay, good.
products were let's call them paper-based products. Yeah, they had a specific GSM to them, which is not actually the GSM that they are. What GSM are they, Gina? Please do share.
They're 140 versus the standard 160. And let me just say on the record, that was not something the company did. The supplier did it, unbeknownst to the company. So it is not the company's fault in some senses, but in other senses, if they had done proper QC, giving enough turn time, we might have caught it.
But also, once you find out about it, would you not then want to tell
right. So
people?
when I found out about it, I went back to
You were
the
fired?
factory. No, I went back to the factory and I said, hey, do you think this was just like an accident? Like what happened? You know, because like, yeah, there's a big manufacturing facility. You know, there's lots of different types of material laying around. I could absolutely see how something accidentally gets printed on the machine and just bound or whatever without them realizing it. But I was met with like, how dare, like they were just like, we're not discussing this because that's lie. But meanwhile, we had like the caliper showing the weight of the paper. So I was like, hey, was it a mistake? Like if it was a mistake, totally fine. But are you doing this purposely? And my feeling was they were doing it purposely because they can save money and price gouge us. Because nothing was ever negotiated. The vendor would say it's $5, even though it should really be $2. And we would just say, okay, we would just accept it.
I'd be curious to know if, since this podcast, if the organization has now made everybody sign NDAs.
An NDA. I doubt it because they don't know their ass from their elbow, which is sad because they could be great.
Yeah.
All right. What else have you got, babe?
Okay. So my last question, so kind of to caveat that the only like innovative products that they seem to have made that I can think off the top of my head are that you made, and the which they released like this last fall, which I'm pretty sure, Gina, you had a hand in producing.
Yep.
Because those two, I've never seen anything else like it. You can't get it anywhere else, but everything else is like.
That was entirely my idea.
Yeah, I love it.
Entirely, from start to finish.
I'm like, Gina, send me more.
Yeah, that was great. And there's nothing else like it. And people wish they would do more things like that, but then they come out with these tiny fucking like.
So I would say that like that whole collection, I know there was an issue with the which, just to go on record, was approved by the creative director. It was her final dimensions that were put into production, and she went back and tried to blame it on me and the technical designer that we contracted with when we were all on a Zoom meeting or a Slack or whatever it was, and she okayed those final dimensions. So if anyone bears the onus on that, it's her, right? She had the sample, she called out the dimensions, we made it exactly as she called it out. So there's, so anyway, but that whole collection was me and the technical designer that I work with very closely in day-to-day business. She's amazing. Figuring out how to make that come to life. No other bags have they ever done had that quality.
No.
That's all I'll say. And that was all me. So good luck trying to do that again.
No,
Yeah.
they can do it again. If anybody wants to do it for themselves, come and talk to us.
Yeah, come talk to us.
Well, the other holder that I think was on your business page that was
Yeah.
posted, people are like dying to get that. I don't know if it'll ever like
It
come
won't.
out.
That was
Yeah.
my brainchild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
But if
really
there's
fucking
other
good.
organizations that are interested in making something similar, please reach out.
Yeah, there was a vegan leather one that I had worked on through my sources, my vendors that I use, and that canvasy kind of twill one, which is the one I think you're referring to, also was my brainchild come to life by the technical designer I use. And she basically took my idea and ran with it. So it's not even so much me. I just had the idea. Like the technical designer did most of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing product. Like we're going to make something like that for my company's core collection because it's so useful. Like I've used it. Did you get a copy of it yet?
No,
I don't know if we have
didn't,
one.
because you hate me.
No, I
Rude.
think I only have one. I think
Yeah,
that's
well,
the
send
issue.
me one.
No, I only have one.
Yeah, well, send me the one.
No. But anyway, so like probably because the price point was a little too high for their liking, but it would probably have sold out.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
no, it definitely would have. No, people were very
Maybe we need
excited.
to make red ones with flags on.
No, that's so ugly.
You could do like
We can make something cute.
We,
You could do
I'm
page.
fully on board though, making the core product with a red flag on the front.
Yeah, like a little tiny embroidered red flag in the corner. I'm here for it.
Yeah. No, people were very excited about like innovative products like that, and then they get these shit things that you could literally find on Amazon, and they're like, what?
Right. So we were
Why am I
told
paying?
that the items that were to be put into those certain boxes should be no more than $3.
That's so frustrating because they talk about the value being like $200+
That's
Yes,
an
if you're
big
buying one item off of Amazon and adding it all up, but when you're buying it in bulk of like 5,000 plus, there are
Mhm.
pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
The one subscription box, the two subscription boxes that I worked tirelessly on were the one that fit all the items perfectly. It had the it had in it. It had, do you know the one I'm talking about? It
Yeah.
had like some,
Yeah.
that was a correctly done box. It was totally cohesive. The box matched. It wasn't too big. It wasn't too small. We reverse engineered that carton so it fit the goods so that they wouldn't be spilling out all over the place. I'm sure they still did if they were throwing it into a huge box. And then the next one I started working on, and I think that was the last one. That anyone actually really liked.
All right. My last question is, what are your like pop word red flags? Because I definitely have mine that I look for when I like see a company or new products that I'm like, okay, maybe this, like, there's got to be something wrong here. One being the company's name has, I immediately like,
Wait, where did that come
the
from?
company that, but it seems like every company I come across with the name tends to be problematic.
So interesting.
Yeah,
That's
and then
curious.
Olive and June, which is a nail polish company,
Yep.
is another one. They were in some hot water for some like very
Problematic
racist
language.
like, things that the CEO had said. Yeah. And then not like paying their influencers or affiliates properly and all this other junk, which
Okay. That's so interesting.
two are like Boss Babe and Girl Boss. I'm all for like female empowerment and all this other stuff, like, women being bosses or whatever, but it seems like if people are like just throwing those words around, they're creating a like toxic, like problematic environment for either their employees or their customers. And then like the whole you can sit with us, you can be a part of our group thing. They tend to be more exclusive than they are inclusive.
Inclusionary than engaging.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So
what
those
else
are
you
mine.
got? Those are
Not-
yours?
Those are it for, for now anyway. Those are the ones I
Okay.
just dropped. I want to know
I-
yours.
I think mine is family owned. I think the second one is non-funded startup, which there
Okay.
could be a case to say that my company is toxic, but I don't think so because I just
No,
like
we've,
let
ma-
people-
we've made it toxic for ourselves, is what
you
we've-
and I
Yeah,
are like a toxic pair.
We've made it toxic.
But to everyone else, no. But I think on the whole, I don't think that's normal. I think because I'm like so hands off, like sometimes I don't speak to my employees for days on an end, except Nicola, you and I speak.
Oh my
all the
God, we
time.
spend so much time together. I'm so sick of your face.
It's ridiculous. But anyway, okay, so family owned, non-funded startup. There was another one I had. Okay, come back to me. Those are my first two. I can't think of the third one, but it's like on the tip of my tongue.
I am 100% very skeptical of any organization that greenwashes. So anything that's environmentally friendly, there's no such thing. Nothing is environmentally friendly. So it's environmentally responsible, or environmentally, just don't greenwash.
So I just want to say something though, like in America, and maybe our
Sure.
mystery guest can back me up on this. We use the word environmentally friendly or eco-conscious. Right. And it's just like our vernacular. I don't believe
the vernacular though is
Is
what's
probably an
problematic
issue.
because it's greenwashing. That's all it is you're just like, I'll slap a label, I'll slap eco-friendly on everything.
Yeah, because there's
Like,
no
no.
regulation. You can use those words like willy-nilly, and I mean you could say it about anything.
Yeah.
Right. But I don't think those words in themselves are problematic if you have actual proof to back it up. Like, yes,
yeah,
this
if you
is
look, if we're a
certified, like
well-known-
RPET or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
I agree
so-
with that. Agree with
okay.
that.
But I think that
overall,
it's
it's just
outside
overused.
of the United States. It's much more prevalent to say environmentally. What do you guys say?
We say
Environmentally
environmentally responsible or
environmentally
conscious.
responsible. Yeah. I don't think that's really in the American vernacular. So I think that might just be cultural, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So for me, that's a big red old flag.
Like, I'm the first to point out issues, but I also like overall, I don't think they set out to be what they ended up being. And that's sad, right? For them. Like, I don't think their intentions were to end up where they are now.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
agree with
that must be sad for the CEO. But then again, on the other hand, it's like, there was no pause to actually look inward, right? There was never a pause to look inward and say, maybe I'm the problem. Maybe my employees aren't happy. What can I do? Do I know my employees? Like, do I know what's going on in the heart of my business? And I don't think they did. There was never that ability to form like compassion for individuals because everything was so reactionary. So I think startup, family owned, and startup with no funding. And also I think anyone who has like a mission statement that is like so absolute.
Yeah.
Because like
I
their
agree with
mission
that.
statement was, and it was very targeted. So actually, let me rephrase that. A mission statement is that is very targeted.
So targeted that to the exclusion of all else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those would be my red flags overall. And also, be aware of what's going on in your interviewing process. There was shit ton of red flags in my interviewing process. I just was like, oh, they're small, they don't know what they're doing, like I can fix this, but also be honest with yourself about your flaws. Like my flaws are that I can sometimes be ego driven. I did start gossiping out of frustration, which is not okay. Have the same wherewithal to look within yourself and say, what was my part in this? That would be sort of where I land with that mystery guest. Nicola's frozen.
Yeah.
You frozen.
Sorry. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yes.
All right. What else do you have for us, mystery?
That is all I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you for this conversation.
Yeah. Thank you for answering my burning questions. Not all of them were mine, but
But
I think
the
there's some good-
community's questions.
yeah, the
So
community questions.
I just have my own personal question to you as a representative of the community. When you heard the first couple episodes where we specifically talked about our situation and you put you connected the dots, what was your feeling? Like, were you like how did you react to that?
I was like, oh, it just made a lot of sense to me. And then I was like, there's no way I can continue to buy this product. And it kind of just shattered that, I don't know, that glass box I felt like I was in, where everything was shiny and because they create that cult environment in their customer base where you have to have everything, and it's for what? It's it's a fucking, I don't need this shit. And there are other companies, I already have an abundance of stuff because they've instilled this panic buying that I have definitely bought into, to where I need all this stuff. And it's I don't need this anymore.
Right.
As a consumer, as a customer. So that was
And
my
how do
reaction.
you feel now after this conversation?
I mean, I think I still stand where I'm at. I definitely don't want to buy from them anymore.
Does it make more sense now though? A little
No, it
insight
makes
into why things are the way they are?
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense.
Okay. Do you think we're disgruntled employees?
No, I don't.
I don't
I
think
think
we are either.
No, there was one person who commented that said, because there was a discussion in that Facebook group where everyone had kind of come together and said, it made sense. And there was one person who listened and said, it just sounds like, they're just kind of bitching about their former employer. I don't think I'm going to listen to the third or second episode. I can't remember which one, but
Sure.
Everything really started to come together after that second and third episode. I'm like, okay, no, they're not just gossiping. This really is toxic. I can't believe some of this stuff happened. And you got, technical about it. And it made a ton of sense. And as someone who's getting ready to, I'm a stay-at-home mom right now, but as someone who's getting ready to re-enter the workforce in the next couple of years, it kind of helps me look out for things. What to look for. And the episode you had with Joanna about introverts really spoke to me, because I'm definitely introverted, but I really resonated with a lot of the things that she said.
That was a great episode. She was so knowledgeable, and she's my girl crush, I feel like.
Yeah, she's great.
We took way more time than I think we thought
Of
we
your
were.
time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sticking with us, because I know we kind of just like went off on a certain things.
I also
certainly
feel
did.
like we bitched a little bit. Maybe we need to reflect on that.
No, I'm here for it. I'm here for the gossip, because my life's pretty like boring as a stay-at-home
Yeah,
mom.
it's always good gossip that's not yours, right?
Yeah,
Like, it's like,
yeah, yeah.
you
No,
gotta
I tried to
spread
I tried to phrase things to where I was like not like a bitching like customer, and to where it like tied into the,
yeah,
it was
do you
great
have any other
for having me.
Yeah. It was exciting.
And we'll
If you have any
soon.
questions,
We'll see you online.
message us. Yeah.
I
Bye,
will.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us today. If you would like to share your story, we would love to hear from you.
Also, leaving a review helps us create more content because it shows us there's an interest in this topic.
For those of our listeners who do better with reading, we have closed caption available on YouTube.
See you next week, same time and same place.